Hi, this is Rabbi Young. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly video email. This coming Saturday is on the Hebrew calendar the 9th day of the month of Av, known as Tisha B'Av in Jewish practice. It is a holiday of mourning and reflection. It is a day when the rabbis say the temple was destroyed, as well as the second time the temple was destroyed, and they add all of these historical events to Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av. Also, a side note, it is never celebrated on Shabbat, so even though Tisha B'Av falls on Saturday, we will commemorate it on Sunday as a Jewish community. Now, at Congregation B'nai Tzedek, we don't typically do anything for Tisha B'Av because, in part, the destruction of the temple in 2,000 years of hindsight has been not that bad of a thing. Of course, we mourn the loss of life. Of course, we mourn the destruction of property. Of course, we mourn the spiritual loss that people who connected with God there were able to do for hundreds of years. But the idea of needing a place to sacrifice animals is not something that we mourn. The idea of wanting to rebuild a place where we would continue to sacrifice animals is not something we strive for. But they do add historical tragedies to the 9th of Av. There are those who say the Spanish Inquisition began on the 9th of Av. There are those who say the final solution of the Nazis was planned on Tisha B'Av. There are those who say the 9/11 attacks were planned on Tisha B'Av. I would suggest that these historical additions to Tisha B'Av are not factually accurate, but they do provide something that is helpful to us as a people. Because if we were to really look at every day on which there has been Jewish loss of life, every day on which tragedy has befallen the Jewish community, every day there has been a mass shooting in our current world, or crusaders attacking in the medieval world, I am sure that we would have 365 days of mourning every year. That is inconvenient to say the least, but it also mires us in tragedy. And by saving one day on which to commemorate all of the horrific things that have happened to the Jewish people, it allows us to temper the tragedy in a way. It allows us to hold off on mourning the other 364 days of the year and to continue to celebrate life and enjoy the world, celebrating Shabbat as a community, celebrating the holidays together. And so if you're going to do anything on Sunday to commemorate Tisha B'Av, maybe you'll study a little Echa, a little bit of the Book of Lamentations, and maybe take time to think about all of the people who've died in tragedy over the last year. Most recently in El Paso and Dayton, all over the world in different horrors and tragedies that human beings have been doing to one another, and maybe even in your personal life. Someone you love who you've lost over the past year, you might want to take a little extra time on Sunday and say Kaddish for them. Whatever it is that you choose to do to make Tisha B'Av meaningful to you, I hope it is meaningful and that your loved ones are remembered for a blessing, and that we as a community can eventually come to the day when we're all at peace and these tragedies are no longer a part of our daily news cycle and no longer a part of our communal worries as we move forward together with love, light, and laughter. Have a great week, and I will see you when I get back from Mexico.